Benjamin Netenyahu read scriptures from Ezekiel, praising the achievements that Israel has made in bringing the desert to bloom. And reading those prophecies, it does appear that Israel has gone a long way to turning desert into a lush farmland and producing great harvests and sharing their inventions of the drip system and various achievements with their neighbors, making friendship and extending the ability of their neighbors to prosper, to build a lasting peace in Israel and in the Middle East. I'd like to mention that those prophecies don't only relate to Judah, who was one of 12 brothers. The relatives of Judah now are in Western Europe, the nations of Western Europe and Britain and America and Canada and Australia and New Zealand. They are what is termed as the lost tribes of Israel, but they're not lost anymore. We can trace them all the way back to ancient Israel and the migration after the captivity. They settled up around the Caucasus Mountains and the Caspian Sea. And as they were released then, they migrated across Europe into Holland, France, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, other Western nations there. And then across the channel, the British people, the birthright people, the blessing of material wealth that was given to Joseph's two sons. One was to become a great nation, and which is the United States today, the wealthiest nation on earth. And the other was to become a company of nations, the British Empire. These two sons of Joseph, Ephraim and Manasseh, surely did exemplify the blessings that were passed on from Jacob, Israel, to his lost son that was sold into slavery. But one day, these nations will all come back to Israel. There will be a terrible Holocaust on the British and American people, coming from Germany, from the European Union, and they are building a massive military force. And 10 of those nations, not 27, but 10 of those nations will attack the British and American people with nuclear weapons. They will go into the Middle East for the oil supplies and to occupy Jerusalem and to set up a center for the great church that has always been against the Jewish people. And they will repeat history, taking over the beautiful temple that you will build and setting their pontiff right there in your temple. It seems that Israel has become very liberal in recent years with the conventions that it allows to show up in Tel Aviv, with the Bible history of allowing such, while we see Iran with weapons with Tel Aviv painted on them and Haifa painted on them. We need to be careful that we don't provoke the Lord God of Israel into allowing us to be punished for some of these things. The same is true in Britain and America now, where we've done away with God's laws and Supreme Courts and virtually abolished God from our schools and our school systems and from many homes now in America. We need to return to the practices that we were given many generations ago, and that we can please God and not offend God, because He does allow punishment to come on Britain and America and our fellow Israelites. I'm told that every year in Jerusalem during the Feast of Tabernacles that the rabbis give prayers for the return of the lost tribes of Israel. And I would hope that you continue that practice, because, Mr. Netanyahu, we are coming home.